The volume isn't very,
Okay, we are live, Madam Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Corporation of the Town of Lincoln Council meeting of March 25th to order. My name is Sandra Easton, Mayor of the Town of Lincoln and Chair of today's council meeting. We're meeting electronically through Zoom, as we have so many times in the past. Members of the public may observe the proceedings by accessing the live website at our YouTube channel. Would the IT staff please proceed with the technical requirements to play the national anthem, and councilors, would you please put yourselves on mute? Thank you.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thanks, everyone. And for those of you that are watching this evening, the Lincoln Council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. The town of Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawandronk, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, including the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. Town of Lincoln and the regional municipality of Niagara stands with all its Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll to establish that we have quorum?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councillor Rajima? Present, thank you. Councillor Russell?
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Pachariba has said that he will be absent. Councillor Brunet?
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Murray?
Here.
Councillor Miklik?
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Reimer?
Here.
Councillor Timmers?
Present.
Mary Stin?
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you very much. We also have Regional Councillor Foster in attendance this evening as a delegation. As this is a virtual meeting, we're going to review the litany of procedures that we have followed for some time on these occasions. Should there be a connection or service disruption for the chair, or if quorum is lost, the chair and our clerk will call a 10-minute recess to reconnect and to regain quorum. And if quorum is lost, the meeting will be adjourned. If connection is lost from the chair, Deputy Mayor Mikulik or the vice chair will resume the meeting. Once reconnection is achieved, the chair will assume their role. Each member of council who wishes to speak, press the raise hand feature on your video call. The clerk will track our speakers list today and then invite you to speak when I open up for comments or questions. And when not speaking, please remember to put yourselves on mute. Do members have any additions or amendments to the order of the agenda? There being none, are there any declarations of interest? I see none. Do members have any announcements? Please remember you have a limit of 3 items. Please go ahead. I recognize Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. On Friday, March 8th, I was pleased to be able to participate in an event to recognize International Women's Day held here in council chambers, or not actually here because I'm not there, but in council chambers. It was an amazing opportunity to celebrate the outstanding contributions that women make to the town of Lincoln, particularly as part of our staff and our council. I would just like to say that I am so proud to be in the same company as these accomplished women, and I'd like to thank the Clerk's Department for organizing the event and our community partners who generously provided flowers, coffee, and cookie for the participants, and a very kind gentleman who provided pizza as well. Thank you, Mr. Krakopoulos. And then on March 19th, I had the honor of tagging along with a local Meals on Wheels volunteer to deliver nutritious and delicious meals to seniors in our community as part of March for Meals Month and Mayors for Meals Week. March for Meals Month raises awareness of the thousands of people across the province who rely on this critical service and provides us with the opportunity to honor the compassionate dedication of the volunteers and staff who serve our most vulnerable community members with warmth and kindness. A big shout out to the program and the volunteers, especially Delio, who allowed me to join him on his route that day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder to anybody who's interested that this Wednesday, our ECDev team has put together another excellent job fair at the Great Lakes Christian College, or high school. It is going to be from 6 till 8. The last one was very busy, so hopefully we get an excellent turnout. So if there's any staff or counselors available to come and peruse and chat with some of the local businesses or rub elbows with those job seekers, I look forward to seeing you from 6 to 8 on Wednesday, March 27th.
Thank you very much, Councillor Russell. Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. I had the privilege of attending the International Women's Day event at Bench Brewery on your behalf, as well as the town event after that. The Bench Brewery one was great. They have 66% of their workforce are women, and they actually had some special t-shirts printed, so I was given one of those, and they were brewing a Women's Day lager beer, which I got to participate a little bit in that, but I couldn't stay the whole 8 hours to see the end product. But it was a great event, and I was really happy to be there. And then I also joined Councillor Murray and many other of our great staff at the town of Lincoln. And shout out to our Clerk's Department for organizing. It was a really great event and a wonderful way to celebrate. So thank you very much. And I was also going to just quickly mention, Councillor Russell also mentioned the job fair at Great Lakes on Wednesday. And this is, I believe, the 3rd year. I could be wrong on that. And I remember the numbers had doubled. The first year's 400, the second year 800. So I think it's going to be quite the crowd this year that will attend. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, all right, we're moving on now. I guess we're getting our sea legs again, aren't we? So we're moving on to item number 8, which is proclamations, and we have 2 proclamations this evening. The one is for the Royal Canadian Air Force, and I will read that proclamation first. Whereas the Royal Canadian Air Force, RCAF, was formed on April 1st, 1924, with its own orders, the King's Regulations and orders for the Royal Canadian Air Force, and the pay and allowance regulations for the Royal Canadian Air Force. Whereas April 1, 2024 marks the official 100th anniversary of the RCAF, and this centennial is a unique opportunity to celebrate this milestone with all Canadians. In 2024, Canada's Air Force will be showcased in a past, present, and future context, highlighting contributions to national safety and security, international peace, and global stability. Whereas the RCAF has been asking landmarks and cities across the world to illuminate in Air Force blue in commemoration of the men and women who have and continue to serve Canada at home and abroad. Whereas the town of Lincoln recognize and proudly celebrate 100 years of aviation excellence in 2024 and encourage all citizens on this day in the town of Lincoln to join in the ceremonies and honor its distinct heritage, recognizes its tremendous people today and generate excitement for its bright future. Now, therefore, I, Sandra Easton, Mayor of the town of Lincoln, do hereby proclaim April 1, 2024 as RCAF Centennial Day. And I have to make an informal comment that when I was a ward councillor, my ward mate was Ralph Reed, and Ralph Reed was a gunner in one of the main bombing planes, and he was pretty proud of his heritage, as we were of him and his contribution. Our next proclamation is for Autism Ontario. And in addition to this proclamation, there will be a flag raising on Tuesday, April the 2nd, in support of World Autism Day. I will now read the proclamation. Whereas World Autism Day will be recognized on April the 2nd, 2024 in Canada, thanks to Senator Jim Munson's bill S-206, an act respecting World Autism Awareness Day. Whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, affects more than 135 Ontarians. Autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder affecting 1 in every 66 Canadian children, as well as their friends, family, and community, and approximately 1 to 2% of the Canadian population is on the autism spectrum. Whereas in Niagara Region alone, over 7,000 individuals require autistic support to ensure quality of life and inclusive programming. Whereas ASD is a spectrum disorder, which means it not only manifests itself differently in every individual in whom it appears, but its characteristics will change over the life of each person as well. A child on the autism spectrum will become an adult on the autism spectrum. Whereas Autism Ontario is the leading source of information and referral on autism and one of the largest collective voices representing the autism community. Since 1973, Autism Ontario has been providing support, information, and opportunities for thousands of families and individuals across the province. Whereas Autism Ontario is dedicated to the increasing public awareness about autism and the day-to-day issues faced by individuals with autism, their families, and the professionals with whom they interact. The association and its regions share common goals of providing information and education, supporting research, and advocating for programs and services for the autism community. Now, therefore, I, Sandra Easton, Mayor of the town of Lincoln, do hereby proclaim April the 2nd, 2024 as World Autism Day. And I must say that was extremely educating. Item number 9 is recognition and achievements. We have none this evening. Item 10 is the delegation and presentation, and we will now consider item 10.1, Regional Councillor Update. Hello, Rob. Thanks very much for coming and joining us this evening, and go ahead with your report.
Yeah, good evening. And as you kind of alluded to at the beginning, it's kind of back to the future with doing all of this online. I know you guys have made a really good effort to do everything in-house with everybody there at the meetings. At the region, we have a bit of a combination of things. There's a number of counselors usually are online as we're going through and dealing with stuff at the region. But anyway, Just on the items for announcements, Mary Easton, if you don't mind, of course, Chair Bradley's State of the Region is going on this Wednesday. I'm sure several of you are going to that. A little different place. It's being held out in Thorold at the John Michaels Banquet and Event Center instead of White Oaks where it's normally held. So anyway, and that starts a little bit later in the morning for that event. Public Works. So my notes to you guys. I basically went through our meetings from last week, some of the key items, and as well, I also did an update on behalf of Mayor Easton and myself. We had a meeting with Commissioner Ricketts and Transportation Director Tassone back on March the 28th, and we also had that with the key members of your staff to discuss the upcoming construction on King Street to the west of Beamsville. This is actually a really good project, and one of the things that did come up as part of the discussion was Lincoln and King Street. And I guess we've been hammering away enough at it. They're going to be coming back to us. They're going to be doing a treatment on that corner. I think we'll be happy, but I would prefer details wise, we'll wait until they come back with exactly what they're doing with that, and make sure that we don't do any sort of pre-announcements too soon with that. But there is going to be a change at that intersection. And there is one issue that's been going on in and around that construction, and it's been hanging things up a bit. And unfortunately, it's a property issue, and so we can't really talk about it because it's a closed session item in and around property. But suffice it to say, it looks like that's going to get resolved shortly, and we should be moving on with the construction as soon as possible with that project. Waste management. So of course, with all of the changes going on at the province, and just trust me, they are significant, the changes that are going into play. And you did have Ms. Habermill in recently to go and talk about some of this stuff with you. Part of the problem is that there's areas of blue box regulations that are no longer coverable, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Things such as simple as if there's an event going on, the waste disposal guys and the guys that are responsible for the recycling, there's absolutely no obligation for them to be going and picking up any recycling that's going on at that particular event or those particular events. I'll maybe use the Balls Falls event that goes on in the fall, and several of the events that go on in and around the town of Lincoln. Anyway, there's no obligation on the part of the companies to go and pick that up. So the region is very much interested in considering moving forward with that as a continuous service. So anyway, there's negotiations that are going on in that area as we're speaking. A couple of things in and around corporate services. So, all of these things around deferrals and development charges and, all of these granting programs and stuff like that, which I know has been talked about several times at your council. There was a change made to the regional development charges deferral policy. There was previously a requirement to have a letter of credit for agreements that were coming into play in specific grant areas. That's been removed. The study was done basically showing that it really simply wasn't required within the process, and it was adding a layer of red tape, I guess, if you want to put it that way, that wasn't required. So anyway, that's been removed. The tax policy rates, this is the kind of stuff that gets our finance guys all excited in and around it. The tax policy rates were approved at council. For all intents and purposes, there's been no changes over the last a couple of years, but anyway, we went through the normal good discussion on how this is affecting and whether or not any of these subcategories need to be looked at some point in time. But anyway, it's status quo from last year on the tax policy rates. Year-end audit for the region. We had a surplus of 4.988 million when it was all said and done. And of course, you know, to me, that's a lot of money, but really in the scheme of working with the region with a $1.5 billion budget, it's not a lot of money. It had been tracked from about halfway through last year as being the sum that we were going to be seeing, and it was actually about half that that we were tracking. But the police came in with a higher than expected budget surplus, and that was agreed was going to be used as one-time cost coverings for the police. There's new legislation that has come into play requiring one-time purchases of various equipment that they need to do. So that one was agreed to be there. Niagara Transit Commission, there's a budget that's going into reserve for the Transit Commission and Waste Management Reserve. We're able to move in out of the waste side of things, which did have a surplus. We've moved that into the reserve. And by the way, I was happy about that because another figure going through budget was cut from the reserve as part of the budget process. So I'm kind of happy that we're able to go and actually get that properly set. Just some other things. Wayne Redekop is going to be our budget committee of the whole chair for the next 2 years. Both Councillor / Mayor Easton and I think we were both very pleased with the way Wayne handled the budget process these past 2 years or these past couple of budgets. And so anyway, he's been reaffirmed as the budget chair for the next bit. We had a couple of motions that were being dealt with. Councillor Houston brought forward a couple. One from FCM about the Canada Building Community Fund, and it was concerning the federal gas tax. And council supported where she was going with that. There needs to be open discussion amongst all the groups to talk about how those particular funds are going to be used and or flowed out in the future. So that was a good thing. The other one was there was a motion that had been brought forward regarding the OEB and the fact that they had recommended one thing and the province has decided on another when it comes to particularly Enbridge Gas. And this was a subsidy for hooking up that was coming into play anyway. Council actually took the view that we agreed with the province that that the particular subsidy should remain in place at this time. However, should be negotiated into the future as it becomes much clearer on communities and how they're going to be handling heating and recommendations on things like heat pumps and everything else. So with that, and just the other thing I put down for you guys, man, we've had a wild winter or a wild time since I don't know, ever since the beginning of this year. So I'm hoping that for our Easter weekend we're actually going to see spring, but who the heck knows? And we might be into winter 3. But anyway, with that, are you going north, by the way, Councillor Russell? Yeah, okay. Sue and I are off to our cottage on Thursday as well, and going to try and get that open. So anyway, with that, thank you very much, Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the additional information. Now we know where everybody's going to be. This is good. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. Not a question. I just thought that Councillor Foster might be interested in, as well as council. So I'm in Nagoya, as you know, and their garbage system here. Yesterday, I had to be instructed on how to take out my garbage from the apartment.
Nice.
And their system is very interesting. They have clear plastic bags. Some have red on them and some have blue. So if they're a red bag, it's a burn bag. Everything goes in the burn bag, and the blue bag is just plastic bottles or cans. So they don't compost. You have a 2-bag system, and they're burning the majority of garbage, which I found very unusual. So when I went to the garbage area with my little bag, I started to try to take everything out of my bag, and I'm looking for the bins. And that's their system. You just throw it all in a clear bag and a burn or a recycle. That's it. So I just wanted to share that with council.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, it would be if you I may talk to you a little bit further as part of our waste management committee, but I got to tell you, Mary Easton and I went through quite a battle, I guess, if you want to put it that way, when all of this garbage collection and stuff was going on. And if we remember back correctly, how many people were not happy with everything that was going on. It seems like years ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. There was a discussion in and around using clear bags, and for the exact reason why they're using it there, because I mean, you are forced to go and actually put out onto the curb exactly what's supposed to be in those bags. So, that we had looked at that, and there was such a blowback that was coming into play with that. People were not happy at all, even considering it. But anyway, I would say, we're pretty fortunate as living here in Ontario and actually being able to have places like landfill sites. They're incinerating there simply because, as you said, 127 million people or whatever. Boy,
Yeah.
there isn't much room to be doing much of anything. So anyway, thank you very
Yeah,
much, Lynn. I'll
yeah.
talk to you more about that when you get back.
Absolutely. Thanks, Councillor. Thank you, Mary Easton.
Thank you very much, Councillor. There being no further discussion, I have a motion moved by Councillor Regina, seconded by Councillor Timmers. The council receive and file for information the delegation from Regional Councillor Foster. Madam Clerk, would you please deal with the vote?
Thank you. So for tonight's meeting, we are going to be using our hands to vote. And so all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. And any opposed, please raise your hand. And okay, that carries. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great evening.
Thanks very much, Rob. Enjoy your weekend. Item 11 is items for consideration, and we have one item that is being brought forward, memorandum from Public Works and Legislative Services Department. This is dated March 25th, 2024, and is regarding a petition pertaining to flooding on Sand Road. Now, Madam Clerk, just for the consideration of anyone who may be in the background that we can't see, is there any representation from the petitioners?
So staff, through you, Madam Mayor. So staff have been in touch with the principal petitioner who submitted, and John DeRosier, and he is watching tonight's.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, I want to acknowledge Mr. DeRosier. Thank you very much for mustering the activities in your community and for bringing forward their ideas and position. And Madam Clerk, this is on the agenda, so council can assume that it has followed all the correct procedures and that the names are as they should be in terms of the signatories, etc. So I will read the motion, and thank you to everyone in the Sand Road area that was involved in this. We know it's a pretty important item. I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer and seconded by Councillor Russell that council receive and file as information the petition submitted from organizer Jean DeRosier containing the signatures of 23 individuals pertaining to flooding as outlined and attached to our agenda as Appendix A. Madam Clerk, would you please call out the vote?
Thank you, and I'll ask all those in favor to please raise your hand. And thank you, and any opposed, please raise your hand. Councillor Miklik, are you? Okay, you were in favor, so thank you.
I was in favor, but my video camera is frozen, so I can't, yeah.
Thank you,
you.
Miklik. I'll make sure IT connects with you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That carries, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. And we move on now to item number 12. Actually, Madam Clerk, I just think for the benefit of those that are watching, what is the next step in this process now that it's been received?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Through you, so this has been received, and staff from Public Works, in particular, Director Graham is aware of it, and there are next steps outlined in the memo. So Public Works staff proposed to include funding in the 2025 budget for a review, and also work with NPCA regulated area, as well as the CN Railway in the community to monitor the drainage ditch and advocate on remediation efforts. So there is some next steps that staff are currently working on.
Excellent. Councillors, item 12 is a motion to approve previous council minutes, and we're considering item 12.1, council minutes of February the 26th, 2024. Do members of council have any questions? I have a motion moved by Councillor Murray, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that council approve the minutes of the following meetings of council minutes of February 26, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please call out the vote?
Thank you, and I'll ask council, all those in favor to please raise your hand.
I'm in favor, Julie. Councillor Miklik.
Yeah, and any opposed, please raise your hand. And that carries. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 13, recommendations from standing committees. We're now considering the following: Committee of the Whole minutes of March 4th, 2024, Committee of the Whole minutes of March 18th, 2024. Do members of council have any questions? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell and seconded by Councillor Reiner that council approve the following recommendations from Standing Committee: Committee of the Whole minutes of March 4th, 2024, Committee of the Whole minutes of March 18th, 2024. Madam Clerk, please call out the vote.
Thanks, council, and all in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Miklik, can I get yours verbally? Councillor Miklik, can you hear me? He's having some technical difficulties, but that carried. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 14 is a notice of motion. The 14.1 is a notice of motion that I'm bringing forward that will be introduced this evening, and we will seek an affirmative 2/3 vote for immediate consideration. You will recall that I mentioned this at the last council meeting during my mayor's address. I have a motion moved by Councillor Miklik and seconded by Councillor Njima. Whereas procedure bylaw 2022-04 provides that notices of motion shall not be discussed or debated upon introduction, but shall be included on the next regular council meeting agenda for consideration. And whereas section 7.8.5 of the Town of Lincoln procedural bylaw 2022-04 permits a notice of motion to be considered upon its introduction by an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members present. And whereas it is deemed impractical or not in the best interest of the Town of Lincoln to delay consideration, therefore be it resolved that the pertinent rules contained in section 7.8 of procedural bylaw 2022-04 be waived to permit the introduction and consideration by council of the notice of motion on the council agenda pertaining to an urgent need for increased funding to libraries and museums in Ontario. I will now ask the clerk to call out the vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you, Madam Mayor. That carries.
Madam Clerk, there's something not quite right here, I think. Could I just ask you for one moment to consider, and I have been through this, I've been through this agenda, but it was my understanding that the issue that was coming up here this evening was going to be I'm sorry, just give me one moment.
No problem. Councillor Russell, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. I think the last little bit that the mayor had mentioned about the notice of motion, that was from last meeting with the libraries,
Yeah.
where this one is about the Heritage Registry.
That's correct. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I was looking to see which, but I don't see that, Madam Clerk.
You are correct, Madam Mayor. There is a part in there that carried over from a previous script. I apologize. So I'll go back in my stuff and I will correct that portion in the agenda.
Okay, all right. So just a moment. Now I have to go forward.
So it will
All
be,
right, so fine. So, yes, councilors, just ignore what's at the bottom of page 12 or page 11. And we'll move on to the top of page 12. Now, Councillor Mikulik is out of commission. He's still not connected, is he?
he's connected. He's here. He's just on mute. Councillor
Okay.
McLean.
All right. Well, Councillor Mikulik, would you take the chair then? Thank you. Now I can see you. Would you take the chair just so that I can speak to this item? It's a motion that I'm bringing forward that's being seconded by Councillor Timmers.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead. I'll take the chair for now. If I drop out, then we'll let Julie figure out what's next. So.
All right. Well, Madam, members of council, I'll just be very quick because we are familiar with certainly familiar with the issue, which is that non-designated heritage properties that are listed on the municipal register as of December the 21st, 2022 are going to be removed from the municipal register on or before January 1, 2025. If the council of the municipality does not give a notice of intention to designate under section 29(1) of the Ontario Heritage Act on or before January 1, 2025. And there's been quite a lot of discussion about this. And so we want to avoid this, and that's what this motion is all about. And I wasn't really able to recall how much I spoke about this at the last meeting. So I'm just going to read from the top of page 12, whereas subsection 2716 of the Ontario Heritage Act stipulates that any non-designated heritage property listed on the municipal register of priorities as of December 31st, 2022 shall be removed from the municipal register on or before January 1, 2025. If the council of the municipality does not give a notice of intention to designate the property under subsection 29(1) of the Ontario Heritage Act on or before January 1, 2025. And whereas since January the 1st, 2023, municipal staff and members of the Heritage Advisory Committee have been diligently working to review the Municipal Heritage Register, research the heritage value and interest of listed non-designated properties, review and research the heritage value and interest of non-designated properties, determine which properties should potentially be designated in accordance with the provisions of Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and take all required steps to designate such properties. And whereas the above noted work involving 247 listed properties in the town of Lincoln is extremely time consuming and cannot be completed by December 31st, 2024 with the limited municipal resources available. Whereas the Heritage Advisory Committee on March 14th, 2024, provided support to extend the January 1, 2025 deadline for 5 years to January the 1st, 2030, to continue efforts required to designate properties. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Lincoln authorize the mayor to promptly send a letter to Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and Michael Ford, Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, requesting that subsection 2716 of the Ontario Heritage Act be amended to extend the above noted deadline for 5 years from January the 1st, 2025 to January the 1st, 2030. And further, that council direct staff to forward this resolution to all municipalities in Ontario seeking support of the ACO correspondence. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Do members of council have, Councillor Timmers, did you want to add anything to this motion as you're seconding it?
I do, just very briefly. Thank you, Councillor Mikulik. This is a good motion. I want to thank Mayor Easton for bringing this forward. And I think this is a very important motion regarding our heritage in the town of Lincoln. And I hope that the other municipalities get behind this and that we are able to extend this timeline on the registry. You know, having 247 listed properties is daunting for our heritage committee to even make a dent. And we're running out of time. So this is a very important motion. So thank you.
Thank you. Do members of council have any questions to the motion? Councillor Russell, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Mikulik. Just a suggestion. I think the motion is really good. What I kind of got stumbled on was the subject heading, where it's removal of listed properties from the Municipal Heritage Registry. When I read that, my expectation was that we were going to be advocating to remove properties, and then obviously the motion itself is to extend the deadline so that we don't have to do that in the timeline that was originally proposed. So I'm wondering if we can maybe make a couple changes to that subject heading so that if other municipalities are reading this, they quickly can get on board with what the request is, and then we might be able to get more support, because I don't think the subject heading is necessarily succinct with the messaging.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It unless you really know what it's about, or unless you start reading it, you don't really know what the purpose is. Julie, what are your thoughts on that, to modify the wording?
Yeah, we absolutely can. This was taken from another motion that was passed by another municipality. But I'll leave it to Mayor Houston and Councillor Timmers to weigh in on that.
Councillor Timmers, I see your hand up.
It is. I will leave it to Mayor Easton to comment as well. But I personally think that the title is fine. This is exactly what's happening. The changes to the heritage through the last policy. This is how it's described. It's removal of non-designated properties from the Municipal Heritage Registry. So I'm not really sure how we would change that. And if we do change that, I would hope that the intent and the description is still intact, because this is, to me, very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Easton, you don't have your hand up, but what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I know that we rather parroted the language that was being used, but I think that the fact that the counselor is looking at this and has question about it, it doesn't, as well as yourself, it doesn't hurt just to have a look. We'll make sure that it doesn't change the core message. And, Councillor Timmers and I will work with the clerk and make sure that it's absolutely clear. There's no reason why we can't, improve on the language, as long as we don't lose the main purpose. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much for that, Councillor Russell, Councillor McLeod.
Well, this is your motion, so it's
Yes, well, that I understand, but always, having other eyes on it isn't, it's worth considering what other people are seeing and what their interpretation is.
Counselor Timmers?
Just some wording. I know the mayor said we're going to work on this with our clerk to have a good title, but something around the lines of extend Bill 23 timelines with respect to the heritage lists, because that's what this is about. So maybe if that's incorporated into the title, and I would like that as well. It just gives a little more detail. Thank you.
All right, I'll look at that, just review that one more time then with the clerk. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor. That was quick.
Thank you. No, I think the title is key. If for as it's circulated as counselor correspondence, that counselors read it and take a second look at it, right? So comments that I have also is I think as a municipality of 25,000 people picking up on this concern and the deadline, well, surely there's larger municipalities with many more possibly has heritage properties on the lists that they would require even more time than ourselves. So excellent motion, perfect timing. And with that, I don't see any other hands or any other further comments. So Julie, what do we do at this point now? I don't have a script in front of me, so.
That's okay, Deputy Mayor. So we're going to hand it back now to well, actually, you know what? We will conduct the vote if there's no other questions. So
what are we voting? What are we voting on?
We're voting on the motion. So we're voting on the notice of motion that the mayor had read out.
Okay.
Okay, so did you want me to? I don't think we need to reread it. It was fairly lengthy, but that's what we're voting on.
Perfect.
Okay, so all those in favor, council, please raise your hand. And thank you. And any opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, and that carries unanimously. Thank you.
I'll turn the chair back over to Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And the copy of the letter that I send to the Premier and the Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism will be included in the council correspondence. So that will close the loop on that process. Councilors, item number 15 is reports of municipal officers, and I have no report this evening. Item 16 is a motion to consider confidential matters. We have no confidential matters this evening. Item 17 is a motion to approve bylaws, and we have 2 bylaws for consideration today. And I'll just ask if any members of council have questions. There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Benchima that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2024-16 is a bylaw to amend bylaw number 89-2000, 8928, being a bylaw regulating traffic and parking on local municipal roads. And bylaw 2024-17 is a bylaw to authorize the release of the terms and conditions of a site plan agreement executed under bylaw number 2020-06, QEW-exit 2064-10A Inc. Madam Clerk, would you please call out the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and council, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. And if there's any opposed, thank you, Madam Mayor, that carries.
Item number 18 is a motion to confirm proceedings of the council. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Benchima, seconded by Councillor Murray, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2024-18, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, March 25th, 2024, being read a first, second, and third time, that bylaw number 2024-18 be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Madam Clerk, would you please call out the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll ask council, all those in favor, please clearly raise your hand. Thank you. And any opposed? And that carries unanimously, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Item number 18 is council remarks. Before we adjourn the meeting, do members have any comments? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that the council meeting on March 25th, 2024 be adjourned at 18:53. I think that's a record. Madam Clerk, please call out the vote.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. And that carries, Madam Mayor.
Thanks very much, councillors, and thank you, Madam Clerk, for the alternate arrangements. And it certainly is good to have an option when technology has decided to take a rest. But we were able to conclude all of our business, and thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks,
Good.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Konnichiwa.